Hello, fourth graders. Welcome to lesson 6.2. The title is Generate Equivalent Fractions. Just a little reminder, I have been noticing some students are not being as diligent with their note-taking. I would like to remind you that you need a date and a title on your notes. You need to write neatly. And also make sure you bring your notes back to class the next day, either in a spiral notebook or in a binder. I've been seeing many people with loose leaf pieces of paper and they just shove them in their folder. These need to be either in a spiral notebook where they're kept all together, or if you want to do them on single pieces of paper, you need to have a 3-ring binder to put your notes into to keep them organized. Please make sure you're following these 3 important steps. So let's take a look at a word problem here. Patty needs 3/4 cup of dish soap to make homemade bubble solution. Her measuring cup is divided into eighths. What fraction of the measuring cup should Patty fill with dish soap? So let me reread this. Patty needs 3/4 cup. 3/4 of a cup. 3/4 cup of dish soap to make homemade bubble solution. Her measuring cup is divided into eighths. Oh, so she shows eighths. And she needs 3/4. What fraction of the measuring cup should Patty fill with dish soap? So I'm going to illustrate this idea. Let's see. I'm going to draw a rectangle that's been divided into fourths. And this is representing 4th cups. Okay, that's how much she needs, but she needs 3/4. I'm going to highlight that. Hang on one second here. Get a nice color. Bubble solution, let's make that pink. Okay, so she needs 3/4. There's 1/4, 2/4. 3/4. Okay, so that's what she needs. 3/4 cup. But she's got a measuring cup that is divided into eighths. Tried to make those the same size. Let me try again. You know, sometimes you just need to do things over. All right. That's pretty good. I'm happy with that. Only this isn't divided just into fourths. Like that. That would be the same. This other cup is divided into eighths. Well, I know if I divide every fourth in half, one-fourth divided by 2 are actually 2 parts for every 1/4 would give me eighths. 2/8 for every 1/4. Okay, so this is eighths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just wanted to make sure I had 8 equal parts. It's the same size whole. These are eighths. Write that. These are fourths. Let's see. Well, if she filled up the cup, oops, 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8. Well, look at that. That's the same amount. Can you see how they look like the same? Let's see if I can make the connection here. Do that in blue. It's the same liquid level. Okay, so it looks like 3/4 cups equals 6/8 of a cup. All right, and remember what we learned today in class. I'll move to the next page. 3/4, I can make an equivalent fraction. If I want eighths, I know what I did was multiply by 2. Therefore, I need to do the same thing with the numerator. And I will get 6/8. I know these are equivalent because both the numerator and the denominator have been multiplied by the same number. So for every 1/4, we broke it into 2 parts. Those parts became eighths. So 1/4 equals 2/8, therefore 3/4 equals 6/8. And you can think about it like that too, right? For every 1/4, there's 2/8. 1/8 plus 1/8 equals 1/4. Okay, so let's go back and look at what that looks like in the picture. Okay, so as you can see here, for every 1/4, you get 2/8. You can see them right there. So 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 is 3/4. And 2/8 plus 2/8 plus 2/8 is 6/8. These are equivalent fractions. All right, we're going to do some problem solving. This is coming right out of our big book. We have fraction models over to the left in the column that says model. Here. And on the first one, we have 1/2 changes to 2/4. Okay, so there's the picture, and then they change to the equivalent fractions. 1/2 equals 2/4, and they show how that happened over here. 1/2, both the numerator and the denominator were multiplied by 2. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 1/2 equals 2/4. So we're going to do that for the rest of these. 1/2 equals, how many parts are here? 6 equal parts, and 3 of them are shaded in. 1/2 equals 3/6. Well, how did that change happen? Over here you can see 1/2 times 3 is 6. If the denominator was multiplied by 3, the numerator must be multiplied by 3, and 1 times 3 is 3. Therefore, 1/2 equals 3/6. And now we have 1/2 equals 4/8. again, from 1/2 to 4/8, 1 times 4 is 4. If I am making an equivalent fraction, I have to multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same amount. Now I know that 1/2 is equal to 4/8. And then on the bottom, we have 1/2 equals 5/10. Two times 5 is 10 in the denominator. 1 times 5 is 5. 1/2 equals 5/10. Both the numerator and the denominator were multiplied by 5. So 1/2 equals all of these. 1/2 equals 2/4. 2/4 equals 3/6. 3/6 equals 4/8. And, oops, let me redo that. 4/8. And 4/8 also equals 5/10. You can see that in all of these pictures here, they all have the same amount shaded in, and the holes are the same size. Therefore, these are all equivalent to the fraction half, and half is that fraction in its simplest form. Okay, this is your homework for this evening. There's 3 parts. The first part is up in the top over here, over in this area. You're going to look at the model, look at the equivalent fractions, and then in this third part, show us, based on our previous work, how the fraction changed to the equivalent fraction. In other words, what did you multiply the numerator and the denominator by to get that equivalent fraction? So you're going to do that for all 3 of these problems in number 1. And then you are going to create equivalent fractions of your own choosing in number 2 and in number 3. So you're going to change 4/5 to 2 different equivalent fractions, and in the bottom you'll list all 3, 4/5 and the 2 that you found. And you can multiply it by any number you want, but just remember, both the numerator and the denominator have to be multiplied by the same number. Okay, so make sure you copy this down. You don't need to copy these images. That is okay. What you can copy for the first part is this part here, and then you can recopy number 2 and number 3 entirely. Okay, good luck with that, and I will see you tomorrow. Have fun. Bye.